Have you ever heard of a city in Nigeria called Abeokuta? Some say it's the greatest city in Nigeria. I did some research and here are some of the things I found. First, let's start with some history. Of all Yorubas, the Egbas were the first to gain independence from the old Oyo Empire in 1780. A warrior by the name Lisabi, together with some of his comrades, planned the execution of 600 Ilaris and Ajeles, aka the tax collectors of Oyo Empire, in one day. The Egbas will move around for the next 50 years without an actual home of theirs. Like the biblical Moses, Lisabi would rescue the Egbas, but he would not lead them to the promised land. The baton would be handed to another warrior by the name Shodeke. In the year 1830, the Egbas would later find a home under the Olumo Rock. In fact, the name Abeokuta literally means under the rock. Just 2 years after the Egbas settled under the Olumo, the Ibadans team up with Ijebu and Ota people to launch a war on the Egbas. The war was called Owiwi War. This war lasted 2 years until the Egbas gained victory. But before the Egbas could say Jack Robinson, the Ibadans regrouped immediately and set out for another war called Arakonga War in 1834. This war was particularly different. The Ibadans had on their side Arekurumi, the famous Tentari Onokakafo of Yoruba land, and Bashoro Ogunmola, the famous Bashoro of Ibadan. However, after 10 years of warfare, once again, Shodeke-led warriors defeated Ibadan. In 1935, some Hausa Fulanis brought Islam to Abeokuta. A land was allocated to them by Shodeke to be used as a praying center. The same land was later rebuilt as a central mosque of Abeokuta in 1925 by some returned enslaved Afro-Brazilians. In 1845, Balogun Osho Ayikondu emerged as the head of the military government of Abeokuta after the death of the supreme leader, Chief Shodeke. In 1846, one of the most influential men in the history of Abeokuta would come to town, a man by the name Reverend Henry Townsend. And in the same year, he would found the church known as the Aki Church, popularly known as the first church in Nigeria. 1851 would usher in one of the toughest wars the Egba would fight against the ruthless Dahomey kingdom. King Genzo, the king of Dahomey, had sent his general, Sebdo Embe, and over 6,000 soldiers to invade Abeokuta. The Egbas would sought safety under the Olumo, which did provide safety. And after a while, the Egbas once again gained victory on their enemies. So guys, it is important to note that although the Egbas had been independent for about 70 years, they had never actually had a king. They had always been led by military leaders because they were constantly at war. Backed by popular demand, in 1854, the military governor of Abeokuta, Balogun Osho Ayikondu, crowned the first Alaki of Egbaland, Oba Sagwa. Oba Sagwa was the head of the Ogboni Order, a powerful group of men that was always involved in the development of Abeokuta. In 1859, the first newspaper in Nigeria was established by a man known as Henry Townsend. The newspaper was called Iwe Iroyin. Unfortunately, Iwe Iroyin only ran for about 8 years as it was not a commercial success due to the high illiteracy rates. In 1863, once again, the Dahomey kingdom would invade Abeokuta. But this time, Abeokuta had a mother, an Iyalode by the name Madam Tinubu. She was a very rich and powerful woman that had been exiled to Abeokuta from Lagos. She ensured that Abeokuta had all the artilleries and weapons it needed to win the war. And they made sure to show it well enough for the Dahomey. After a couple of days, the Dahomey realized they stood no chance and retreated without attacking Abeokuta. December 3rd, 1889 was a sad day for the whole of Abeokuta. The Iyalode of Egbaland, Madam Tinubu, died earlier on that day. She would be remembered as one of the most influential and certainly the richest woman of her generation. It must be known that she owned the entire expanse of land, currently known as Odiolowo local government in Lagos. She was a queen by marital status, a kingmaker by influence, and a queen mother by adoption. In 1893, the Egba land became a nation known as Egba United Government, which lasted until the amalgamation of northern and southern Nigeria. In 1895, the first hospital in Nigeria, Sacred Heart Hospital, Lantoro Abeokuta, was built by the Catholic missionaries. This hospital remains as one of the biggest private hospitals in the country. In 1898, Alake Gbadebo was enthroned as the Alake of Egbaland. In 1899, the Lagos Abeokuta Railway was completed with a length of 77 kilometers. In 1904, Alake Gbadebo paid a state visit to England to visit King Edward VII. He was the first monarch in Nigeria to pay such visit. In 1908, Abeokuta Grammar School was founded by the Anglicans. It was originally a boys-only school, but was later converted to a mixed school. The first women admitted into the school was Olufumilayo Ransom Kuti. In 1914, northern and southern Nigeria were amalgamated into one country, and that put an end to Egba United governments. In 1918, the amalgamation of Nigeria did not go down well with the Egba, and the tax system introduced by the British also caused some trouble, and that led to a revolt, popularly known as the Adubi. In 1920, Obaladapo Ademola II was crowned the Alake of Egbaland. In 1930, Abeokuta celebrated its centenary with the construction of a new town hall called the Centenary Hall. In 1937, Oba Ademola II visited the United Kingdom for the coronation of King George VI. In 1940, Abeokuta Women Union, led by Funmilayo Ransom Kuti, started a protest against the tax system. In 1949, as a result of the continuous agitation for lack of representation for women and the heavy taxation, the Alake had to go on exile for the next 2 years. In 1956, Elizabeth II paid a visit to Nigeria in preparation for the independence of the country and paid a visit to Abeokuta during this period. In 1963, Alake Gbadebo II was installed as the 8th Alake of Egbaland. In 1976, Abeokuta was chosen as the capital of the newly created Ogun State. So now guys, let's talk about some of the fun things to do in Abeokuta. To learn more about the history and culture of the Egba, check out the National Museum. Another wonderful place to check out is the Centenary Hall built in 1930. Another place to check out is the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library. I've been there personally and I can tell you it's awesome. The Wole Soyinka train station is also another wonderful place to visit. And of course, your journey to Abeokuta would never be complete without visiting the historic Olumo Rock. Abeokuta is well known around the world to be blessed with talented musicians. Talk about Josiah Ransom Kuti, the first African to have an international record deal, the legendary Fela Anikulapo Kuti, who is actually the grandson of Josiah, Grammy-nominated Femi Kuti, Grammy-nominated Seun Kuti, Grammy-nominated Made Kuti, Ebenezer Obey, Ayinla Omowura, Sir Shina Peters, Kiss Daniel, Brimo, and a lot of other wonderful artists. Some of the popular people from Abeokuta include the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yorubaland and Basọ̀run of Ibadan, MKO Abiola, former President of Nigeria, President Olusegun Obasanjo, former President of Nigeria, Ernest Shonekan, Nobel Prize winner, Professor Wole Soyinka, veteran actor Olu Jacobs, one-time Iyalode of Ibadan, Efun Shetaniwura, first chartered accountant in Africa, Akintola Williams, first senior advocate of Nigeria, Rotimi Williams, first Chief Justice of Nigeria, Sir Tokunbo Ademola, whom is actually the son of Alake Ademola II.
Velos Abeokuta, ìlú Olúmọ, Bevara Alake, Eva Miki.